The art of self-mastery and inner peace. The philosopher king's secret to inner harmony. You are holding the keys to a kingdom, yet you live like a beggar at the gates. You look at your life, your struggles, and your unfulfilled dreams, and you blame the world. You blame your past. You blame your circumstances. Stop acting like a victim. The reality you see around you is not happening to you. It is happening to you. Your mind is the blueprint. Your current life is simply the physical printout. If you want a different reality, you must change the design. It is time to reclaim your inner power and step into your true destiny. Introduction: The Kingdom Within. Look around. The world is moving at a frantic pace. People are rushing, stressing, and fighting for external validation. They chase money, status, and approval, hoping these things will finally bring them peace. They are looking for answers in all the wrong places. They think the problem is out there. It isn't. The problem is inside. You have become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. You tell yourself you are trapped by your environment or limited by your resources. You're fooling yourself. 2,000 years ago, an ancient teacher named Jesus walked the earth and delivered a radical truth that mainstream history often misunderstands. He didn't tell people to look to the clouds for salvation. He said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Think about that statement deeply. This isn't just religious dogma, it is profound esoteric wisdom. It is a fundamental law of metaphysics. The kingdom is not a physical place you visit after you die. It is a state of consciousness. It is the realm of infinite intelligence that resides right inside your own mind. Jesus was teaching a masterclass in mind reprogramming. He was telling us that the ultimate authority over your life does not belong to a king, a government, or your boss. It belongs to your higher self. Yet, look at how you live today. You wake up anxious. You check your phone immediately, letting the chaos of the world dictate your mood. You react to every text, every news headline, and every minor inconvenience. You are giving away your power. You are treating the world as the cause and yourself as the effect. This is a complete inversion of spiritual truth. Thought creates matter. Mental causation is the absolute rule of this universe. Your outer world is a mirror, reflecting the precise state of your inner world. If your mind is chaotic, your life will be chaotic. You cannot manifest prosperity consciousness while harboring a spirit of lack. This book is your awakening. This is your journey towards self-realization. We are going to peel back the layers of your conditioning. We are going to dismantle the ego that keeps you small. That's your ego talking whenever you say, "I can't do this," or "It's too hard." The ego loves the familiar. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. But you didn't start this journey to stay comfortable. You started it to achieve personal transformation. To experience a true spiritual awakening, you must accept absolute personal responsibility for everything in your life. No exceptions. No excuses. Your excuses are working harder than you are. If you are unhappy with your relationships, your bank account, or your health, realize that your subconscious mind has been programmed to accept those limitations. You have agreed to them. But what has been programmed can be reprogrammed. You possess a creative thought power that can literally reshape your physical environment. You are already what you desire to become, but you have buried that truth under mountains of doubt and fear. You've mistaken fear for wisdom. You think you are being realistic, but that's not a fact, that's just a belief. It is time to stop waiting for permission that no one is going to give you. You are waiting instead of deciding. In the chapters ahead, we will unlock the secrets of self-mastery. We will explore how your imagination creates reality and how to assume the feeling of your wish being fulfilled. You will learn to command your subconscious mind with faith and surrender, letting go of the struggle and allowing infinite intelligence to work through you. Be honest with yourself. Are you ready to let go of the old story? Your future self is watching this choice. The kingdom is waiting. Let's begin. Chapter 1, The Architecture of Mind. Let's stop playing games. You want to change your life, but you don't even know how your own mind operates. You are trying to build an empire on a foundation of sand. You think that because you read a self-help quote or wish for a better life on Sunday morning, the universe should suddenly bow to your desires. You're fooling yourself. Your conscious wishes mean absolutely nothing if your subconscious mind is running a completely different program. To achieve self-mastery, you must understand the architecture of your mind. It is divided into two distinct realms, the conscious and the subconscious. Think of your conscious mind as the captain of a massive ship. The captain makes the decisions, looks at the map, and sets the direction. But the conscious mind is small. It accounts for only a tiny fraction of your mental power. The real muscle, the actual engine room of the ship, is your subconscious mind. The subconscious doesn't think, it doesn't reason, and it never takes a joke. It simply executes the orders given to it by the captain. The problem is, you are a terrible captain. You are asleep at the wheel. You are letting every random piece of bad news, every negative comment from a stranger, and every passing fear dictate the orders sent down to the engine room. And then you wonder why your ship keeps crashing into the rocks. The problem isn't out there. The problem is your lack of mental control. Let's look at how this works through the lens of mental causation. Every single thing you see in your physical reality was a thought before it became a thing. Thought creates matter. This is a fundamental law of metaphysics, not a pleasant theory. Your subconscious mind is a fertile garden. It does not care what kind of seeds you plant. If you plant seeds of lack, worry, and self-doubt, it will faithfully grow a harvest of poverty, anxiety, and failure. If you plant seeds of prosperity, consciousness, confidence, and inner peace, it will just as faithfully yield abundance and harmony. But what are you actually planting? Be honest with yourself. You spend 5 minutes visualizing success, and then you spend the next 12 hours complaining about your bills, gossiping with your friends, and worrying about the future. You are arguing for your limitations again. Your excuses are working harder than you are. You claim you want financial freedom, but your subconscious mind is deeply programmed with a story that money is scarce, hard to come by, or root of all evil. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. And as long as that belief sits in your subconscious, you will actively sabotage every single opportunity that comes your way. This is where the esoteric wisdom of mind reprogramming becomes your ultimate weapon. You must learn to guard the gates of your subconscious mind with absolute, ruthless discipline. Stop letting the world pollute your mental space. When you wake up in the morning and immediately flood your brain with social media and stressful news, who told you that was a good idea? You are literally programming your mind for anxiety before your feet even hit the floor. The great New Thought teachers understood this mechanical nature of the mind perfectly. They taught that the subconscious accepts whatever is impressed upon it with deep feeling and repetition. It cannot distinguish between a real physical experience and an image vividly imagined in the conscious mind. This is why imagination creates reality. Your imagination is not a tool for daydreaming. It is the workshop of the infinite intelligence within you. If you want a different life, you must start assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled right now. You cannot wait for the money to arrive before you feel wealthy. You cannot wait for the relationship to appear before you feel loved. That is living from the outside in. That is giving away your power. True spiritual awakening requires you to live from the inside out. You must possess the inner power to look at a blank bank account, or an empty room, and firmly declare, I am abundant. I am peaceful. I am successful. You must see it in your mind so clearly, and feel it so deeply, that your subconscious has no choice but to objectify it in your physical world. But right now, you are waiting instead of deciding. You're waiting for a sign. You're waiting for permission that no one is going to give you. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you, the story of why you can't, why it hasn't happened yet, and why it's someone else's fault. That's your ego talking. The ego loves to keep you trapped in the familiar because the familiar feels safe, even when it's miserable. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. Are you going to go running back to it the moment this chapter ends? Let's get practical. No more theories. Here is your action step for today, and I expect you to do it, not just listen to it. If procrastination were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion, so do this immediately. Tonight, right before you go to sleep, your brain will enter a drowsy, hypnotic state. The barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind drops. This is the most critical window for mind reprogramming. Do not look at your phone. Do not replay the day's frustrations. Instead, construct one short, simple phrase that implies your goal is already achieved. Something like, everything is perfectly resolved, or, I am deeply at peace and abundantly provided for. Repeat this phrase over and over like a lullaby. Do not force it with tension. Relax into it. Breathe it in. Feel the relief, the safety, and the satisfaction of that reality. Fall asleep completely drenched in that feeling. You are handing a new blueprint down to the engine room. You are commanding the creative thought forces within you to go to work while you rest. This requires absolute personal responsibility. You can no longer blame your parents, your past, or the economy for your state of mind. You are the captain. Take the wheel. Stop negotiating with your potential. Your future self is watching this choice. Decide right now that your mind belongs to you, and you will no longer allow a single stray thought of limitation to take root in your kingdom. Chapter 2, The Illusion of Distance. Let's dismantle your greatest illusion. You think that the version of you who is successful, peaceful, and completely fulfilled exists somewhere far off in the future. You think you have to climb a massive mountain, cross a desert of suffering, and endure years of struggle before you can finally arrive at that destination. You are arguing for your limitations again. There is no distance between you and your desires except the distance you are creating in your own mind. The physical world has taught you a massive lie, that you must see it before you can believe it. It tells you to look at your current circumstances, your bank account, your relationship status, your current career, and let those numbers and facts tell you who you are. That's a convenient excuse. It allows you to stay comfortable in your stagnation. But the truth of esoteric wisdom is exactly the opposite. You must believe it before you will ever see it. Thought creates matter. What you see out there in the physical world is not live action, it is an echo. It is yesterday's news. It is the delayed projection of past thoughts and assumptions. If you want a radical personal transformation, you must learn the law of assumption. This law states a profound metaphysical truth: you are already what you desire to become. You don't need to manifest something out of thin air. You don't need to beg infinite intelligence to grant you a favor. Everything you could ever want or need already exists as a potential reality within the space of higher awareness. Your ideal life, your inner peace, your prosperity consciousness, they are already fully formed and waiting. But you are locked out of that reality because your emotional frequency is completely misaligned with it. You are vibrating at the frequency of waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for the external world to change so that you can finally feel secure. Who told you that was a good idea? You're giving away your power. If you wait for the physical world to change before you change your inner state, you will wait forever. The mirror of reality does not smile first. You must smile, and then the mirror has no choice but to reflect that smile back to you. How do you do this practically? Through the deliberate use of your imagination and the mechanics of feeling. Your imagination is not a childish tool for escaping reality. It is the literal gateway to the divine. It is how you interact with the infinite. When you use your imagination correctly, you are reshaping the spiritual blueprint of your destiny. But you have to stop daydreaming. Daydreaming is passive. Daydreaming is looking at a picture of a warm fire while you sit freezing in the cold. It keeps the desire outside of you. True mind reprogramming requires you to step inside the picture. You must assume the feeling of the wish being fulfilled. What does that look like? It means you close your eyes, strip away the sensory data of your current room, and mentalize your desired end. You don't think of the goal, you think from the goal. If your goal is true inner peace and self-mastery, you don't look at peace as something you want to get tomorrow. You sit in your chair right now and ask yourself, how would I feel right now if I were already completely secure, grounded, and victorious? Would your shoulders be tense? No. Would your chest feel tight with anxiety? Absolutely not. Your mind would feel clear. Your breath would be deep and steady. A profound sense of relief would wash over you. That relief, that stillness, that deep conviction of certainty, that is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you summon that feeling and hold it, you are no longer negotiating with your potential. You have stepped into a new state of consciousness. You have impressed a new reality upon your subconscious mind. And remember, the subconscious is a mechanical giant. It takes the blueprint of that feeling and immediately begins to rearrange your physical world to match it. It will give you the ideas, the encounters, and the sudden bursts of intuition necessary to bring that reality into physical form. But this is where you usually fail. You do this for 10 minutes, you open your eyes, you look at your current reality, and you say, well, it didn't work. You're fooling yourself. You've mistaken fear for wisdom. You are letting the outer world dictate your inner faith. You are letting a temporary shadow erase a permanent spiritual truth. Faith and surrender mean you stand firm in your assumption even when the physical senses deny it. You must stay committed to the invisible reality until it becomes visible. Stop acting like a victim of your current environment. The problem isn't out there. If your mind is constantly returning to the story of lack, the story of betrayal, or the story of, I'm not ready yet, then you are actively assuming failure. You are very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. Let's change the script today. No more waiting. Here is your practical action step, and your future self is watching this choice. Pick one specific desire you want to realize, whether it is a peaceful state of mind, a professional milestone, or a breakthrough in your personal life. Do not overcomplicate it. You're overcomplicating it because you're trying to figure out how it will happen. The how is the business of infinite intelligence. Your only job is the what and the who. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Bring that desired end into your mind. Do not look at it from a distance. Step into it. If it's a successful achievement, feel someone shaking your hand and congratulating you. Hear the exact words they are saying. Feel the texture of their hand. Feel the surge of pride and gratitude in your chest. Dwell in that specific scene until it takes on the sensory vividness of reality. When you open your eyes, do not drop the feeling. Carry that relief with you throughout the day. When doubt creeps in and whispers that you are delusional, look that doubt in the eye and say, that's your ego talking. That's a belief, not a fact. Take absolute personal responsibility for your dominant mental state. You are the ruler of this internal kingdom. Assume your greatness, claim your inner power, and refuse to step down from. Chapter 3, The Death of the Alibi. Let's have a moment of absolute, unfiltered honesty. You are where you are because you want to be there. Take a deep breath and let that sting for a second. Your ego is already throwing up its walls. It's scrambling to find an exception. It's screaming about your childhood, your terrible ex, the bad economy, or your lack of luck. Stop acting like a victim. The ego is an absolute master at constructing an alibi. It loves to point its finger at everything outside of you so that you never have to look at what's happening inside. It wants you to believe that your life is a series of unfortunate accidents happening to you. But you're fooling yourself. Your excuses are working harder than you are. Every single time you blame an external circumstance for your lack of inner peace, your financial stagnation, or your emotional chaos, you are doing something incredibly dangerous. You are giving away your power. You are handing the keys to your internal kingdom to a world that doesn't care about your destiny. If your happiness depends on someone else behaving perfectly, you will never be happy. If your financial freedom depends on the government changing its policies, you will never be free. If your spiritual awakening is waiting for your environment to become calm and quiet, you will never achieve self-realization. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for the world to give you permission to be great, but that permission is never going to come. Let's look at the metaphysics of victimhood. Esoteric wisdom teaches us a fundamental truth about consciousness: you cannot manifest what you do not embody. You cannot experience a personal transformation while your dominant mental state is rooted in blame. Blame is the language of the ego. It is a lower vibrational frequency that locks you into a loop of perpetual lack. When you tell the story of how you were wronged, how you were limited, or why things are too hard for you, you are deeply programming your subconscious mind to look for more evidence to support that story. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. You nurse your old wounds like hidden treasures, bringing them out to show people whenever they ask why you haven't reached your potential. If procrastination and complaining were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion. It's time to retire the alibi. It's time for the death of the victim mindset. True self-mastery requires you to swallow a very bitter pill: absolute personal responsibility. This means that from this moment forward, you accept that everything in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is a reflection of your own state of consciousness. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your dominant mental attitudes have brought you to this exact point. Now, your ego will try to twist this. It will say, "So, it's my fault that bad things happened." That's your ego talking. This isn't about self-blame or guilt. Guilt is just another useless ego defense mechanism designed to keep you paralyzed. This is about power. Fault is about the past, responsibility is about the present. When you accept absolute responsibility, you aren't saying you deserved every negative thing that ever happened to you. You are saying, "I am the sole creator of my current experience, and because I created it, I have the inner power to change it." Look at the liberating truth hidden inside this realization. If the problem is out there, you have to change the whole world to fix it. You have to change your boss, your partner, your bank, and the global economy. Good luck with that. You're overcomplicating it. But if the problem is inside your own mind, you only have to change one thing: your consciousness. You have total authority over that. Infinite intelligence resides within you, waiting for your command. But it will not build an empire for a beggar who refuses to stand up. The New Thought masters always emphasize that mental attitude shapes every single outcome. You must develop a ruthless mental discipline. When a victim's thought enters your mind, when you find yourself starting to complain about your schedule, your fatigue, or how someone treated you, you must catch it immediately. Do not let it take root. Do not feed it with emotion. Look at that thought and recognize it for what it is: a direct threat to your personal transformation. You've mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that by anticipating problems, complaining about obstacles, and defending your limitations, you are being realistic. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. And it is a belief that is actively killing your future. Your future self is watching the choices you are making right now. Are you going to keep negotiating with your potential, or are you going to step into your higher authority? Let's put this into practice immediately. No more waiting. For the next 24 hours, you are going on a strict mental fast. You are forbidden from uttering a single complaint. You are forbidden from blaming anyone or anything for your mood, your energy level, or your circumstances. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you do not curse. If someone gives you a bad attitude, you do not react. If you feel tired, you do not announce it to the world. If you catch yourself starting to say, "I can't because," stop mid-sentence. Literally shut your mouth. Instead, turn your focus inward. Take a deep breath, connect with your higher self, and silently state, "I am the master of my mind." I am the sole authority in my reality. This will feel incredibly difficult at first because your ego is highly addicted to the hit of dopamine it gets from feeling right and making others wrong. The comfort zone called, it's going to scream for you to come back. It misses you. It wants you to stay small and safe. But you are not small, and you are no longer playing it safe. Shank the ego's defenses. Burn down the bridge to your victim's past. Take absolute, radical personal responsibility for your life today, and watch how quickly the universe rearranges itself to match your new Chapter 4, The Blueprint of the Deep Mind. Let's stop looking at your surface-level thoughts and start looking at the code running your entire life. You are trying to change your reality by merely thinking positive thoughts for 5 minutes a day while your deep mind is marinating in 40 years of negative conditioning. You are painting over a rotten wall and wondering why the paint keeps peeling. You're fooling yourself. Your conscious willpower is a weak tool when it goes up against the massive, silent machinery of your subconscious mind. If you want a genuine spiritual awakening and an absolute personal transformation, you must learn how to hack into the deep mind. You must understand that your subconscious is completely mechanical. It does not possess the ability to judge, filter, or reject. It takes whatever you feed it as absolute truth. Right now, your subconscious is running a program of limitation, fear, and struggle. Who told you that was a good idea? You did, through your past reactions, your continuous complaints, and your unmonitored mental chatter. Your excuses are working harder than you are, and your deep mind is faithfully executing those excuses into physical reality. The problem isn't out there. The problem is that you are letting your deep mind run on autopilot. To change the printout of your life, you must overwrite the blueprint. This requires two of the most powerful, ruthless tools in the toolkit of esoteric wisdom, autosuggestion and mental fasting. Let's start with autosuggestion. Most people think autosuggestion is just standing in front of a mirror repeating empty affirmations they don't believe. That's your ego talking. When you stand there saying, "I am a millionaire," while your bank account is overdrawn, your conscious mind immediately flags it as a lie. You are arguing for your limitations again, and the conflict only creates more anxiety. You are overcomplicating it. True autosuggestion is the art of planting a seed when the soil of the mind is perfectly soft and receptive. That happens when you are in a state of deep physical and mental relaxation. Specifically right before you fall asleep and right after you wake up. In these windows, your brain waves slow down, the analytical conscious guard drops, and the gateway to the deep mind swings wide open. Do not fill that sacred space with news, social media, or a mental replay of your daily frustrations. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you, and by chewing on your problems before bed, you are literally giving your subconscious a direct order to create more of those exact problems tomorrow. Instead, use a short, condensed phrase that bypasses the ego's defenses. If you are seeking prosperity consciousness, do not argue with a specific number. Use a phrase like, "Infinite intelligence is opening doors of abundance for me right now." If you are seeking inner peace, use, "My mind is calm, and my path is clear." Repeat this phrase slowly, gently, and with deep feeling until you drift off. You are not trying to force the mind with brute strength. You are dropping a drop of dye into a clear glass of water. Over time, that single drop will color the entire vessel. You are establishing a new mental causation. But planting the seed is only half the battle. You cannot plant a beautiful seed at night and then spend the entire day pulling it up by its roots through gossip, worry, and doubt. This is where the second tool comes in, the absolute necessity of a mental fast. A mental fast is a ruthless, uncompromising discipline. It means you make a pact with yourself that you will not harbor a single negative, limiting, or victim-minded thought for a set period of time. Now, let's be clear, you cannot control what thoughts pop into your head. The human mind is a thought-generating factory. But you can control whether you entertain them. You can control whether you invite them in for tea, sit them down, and give them your power. When a thought of lack or fear flashes across your screen, you must treat it like a trespasser in your kingdom. You don't negotiate with it. You don't argue with it. You recognize it immediately and say, that's not a fact, that's just an old belief. And then, you deliberately pivot your attention to your higher self. You've mistaken fear for wisdom for far too long. You think that by worrying about what could go wrong, you are protecting yourself. You're not. You are actively programming your deep mind to bring that exact failure to life. Thought creates matter. Every thought wrapped in emotion is an order form sent directly to the universe. The New Thought masters knew that mind reprogramming is not an occasional hobby. It is a full-time occupation. It requires absolute personal responsibility. If procrastination and laziness are your defaults, you are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for the external circumstances to become perfect before you decide to feel powerful. The comfort zone called, it misses you. It wants you to quit this fast. It wants you to go back to complaining because complaining is easy. It requires zero effort to be a victim. It requires supreme inner power to be a master. Your future self is watching this choice. Are you going to continue giving away your power to every passing mood, every critical comment from a coworker, or every bump in the economy? Or are you going to step into your role as the sole architect of your deep mind? Here is your practical action step for today. Do not overcomplicate it, and do not put it off. Starting tomorrow morning, the moment you open your eyes, you are on a 48-hour mental fast. For 2 full days, you will not speak a single word of complaint, doubt, or criticism. Not about the weather, not about your finances, not about your body, and not about other people. The moment a negative thought arises in your consciousness, and it will, you will silently counter it with your autosuggestion phrase, my mind is calm, and my path is clear. If you slip up and find yourself spiraling into an old story, do not beat yourself up. That's just the ego trying to hijack the process again. Simply reset the clock and start over. You are teaching your deep mind a new language. You are training the engine room to follow a new captain. Stand guard at the door of your consciousness with absolute devotion, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and claim the self-mastery that has always belonged. Chapter 5, The Currency of Consciousness. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about abundance. And let's stop pretending that your financial struggles are the fault of your boss, your upbringing, or the tax system. Stop acting like a victim. Your financial reality is not a reflection of the economy, it is a direct projection of your internal programming. If you are constantly stressed about bills, living paycheck to paycheck, and looking at the prices of things with a heavy heart, you are operating in a state of deep lack. And by the absolute law of mental causation, a mind focused on lack can only reproduce a life of lack. You're fooling yourself if you think a new job or a sudden windfall will fix this. The problem isn't out there. The problem is your wealth blueprint. To step into true self-mastery and experience a radical personal transformation, you must master the creative thought laws of wealth. You must shift from a survival mindset into prosperity consciousness. Most people view prosperity completely upside down. They think wealth is a physical thing, a number in a bank account, a piece of real estate, or a luxury car. That's your ego talking. Those things are not wealth, they are merely the shadows cast by wealth. True wealth is a state of mind. It is an internal realization of your connection to infinite intelligence, which is inherently unlimited. When you possess prosperity consciousness, you understand that thought creates matter. You don't chase money, you attract it by becoming a mental match for it. But let's look honestly at how you actually interact with money. Be honest with yourself. When you pay your rent or settle a bill, what is your emotional reaction? Do you feel a pang of anxiety? Do you resent the money leaving your hands? Do you grip your wallet tightly, terrified that there won't be enough to replace what you just spent? If so, you are negotiating with your potential. You are announcing to your subconscious mind, there is a shortage. I am running out. I am vulnerable. And your subconscious, being a faithful, mechanical servant, takes that feeling and immediately creates more scenarios where you are running out and feeling vulnerable. You are arguing for your limitations again. Your excuses are working harder than you are. The New Thought pioneers understood that prosperity is governed by the law of circulation. Money is a medium of exchange, it is energy, and energy must flow. The word currency comes from the word current, it needs to move. When you hold on to money with fear and desperation, you stagnate the flow. You block the creative forces of the universe from delivering new abundance to you. You've mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that by hoarding every coin and stressing over every expense, you are being financially responsible. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. To break this cycle, you must practice faith and surrender. You must learn to bless the money that goes out, knowing that you are plugged into an infinite supply. When you pay a bill, do it with a sense of immense gratitude. Gratitude that you had the funds to pay it. Gratitude for the service you received. As you transfer those funds, mentally declare, there is an infinite supply, and as this goes out, it returns to me multiplied 100-fold. This isn't wishful thinking, this is a deliberate mind reprogramming technique designed to anchor your mind in abundance rather than shortage. You cannot create a life of prosperity while harboring a spirit of lack. You cannot talk about how expensive everything is, complain about the cost of living, and envy those who are successful, and then expect the universe to hand you riches. Who told you that was a good idea? Envy is the ultimate confession of lack. When you envy someone else's success, you are telling your deep mind that you don't believe you can achieve it yourself. You are cutting off your own inner power. If you want to experience a spiritual awakening in your finances, you must cultivate a deep inner authority. You must look at a blank bank account or a challenging financial statement and refuse to let it dictate your emotional state. You must assume the feeling of the wish being fulfilled. What does it feel like to be financially free? It doesn't feel like manic excitement or boasting. It feels like security. It feels easy. It feels like a quiet, unshakable peace in the center of your chest. It is the absolute certainty that whatever your needs are, they will be beautifully and abundantly met by infinite intelligence. You must capture that feeling of ease before the money shows up. You must live in that state of mind until it becomes your dominant mental home. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It wants you to stay in the familiar cycle of worrying about money, because that's what you've always done. It wants you to look at your bills tomorrow and slide right back into the old story of struggle. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. Are you going to let a temporary number on a screen rob you of your destiny? Let's get practical. Let's put this creative thought law into immediate operation. No more waiting instead of deciding. Here is your action step for today. The next time you have to make a payment. Whether it is buying groceries, paying a major bill, or even sending money to a friend, I want you to pause before you hit send or hand over your card. Take one deep breath. Shift your focus away from the number and connect with your higher self. Feel the immense abundance of a universe that creates trillions of stars and infinite life. Then, as you make the payment, do it with absolute emotional freedom. Silently say to yourself, I release this energy with gratitude, knowing that the source of my supply is infinite and always flowing. Feel the relief of knowing you are a creator, not a victim of circumstances. Take absolute personal responsibility for your financial consciousness. Stop looking for external validation or waiting for someone to rescue you. The reservoir of infinite intelligence is within you, waiting for you to draw from it. Shift your thinking, command your deep mind with prosperity, and claim the abundance that is your birth. Chapter 6, The Altar of Surrender. Let's talk about your obsession with control. You are exhausted. You are stressed, wound-tight, and constantly on the verge of panic because you think you have to micromanage every single detail of your life. You are trying to force your goals into reality through sheer physical grit, manipulation, and sleepless nights. You're fooling yourself. Your ego thinks that if it stops worrying for even 5 minutes, your whole world will come crashing down. Who told you that was a good idea? That's your ego talking. The ego is small, terrified, and incredibly limited. It only knows what it has seen in the past. Yet, you have handed the steering wheel of your life to this anxious voice. You are relying on your fragile conscious willpower to solve complex life equations, while ignoring the infinite ocean of wisdom sitting quietly right inside you. You're overcomplicating it. The problem isn't out there. The problem is your refusal to let go. To master the art of inner peace and unlock your true inner power, you must understand the deep metaphysical law of faith and surrender. Surrender is not defeat. It is not throwing up your hands, giving up on your dreams, and quitting. Stop acting like a victim. True spiritual surrender is the ultimate act of supreme inner power. It means you have the courage to declare, I know what I desire, but I step out of the way and allow infinite intelligence to orchestrate the how. Let's look at the mechanics of this through esoteric wisdom. Thought creates matter. Your imagination creates the blueprint of your reality, and your subconscious mind accepts that blueprint when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But the moment you drop out of that beautiful feeling and start obsessing over how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and who is going to make it happen, you destroy the seed. You are pulling the seed out of the ground every 10 minutes to check if it's growing. You've mistaken fear for wisdom. You think your anxiety is helping you solve the problem, but it is actually the very thing keeping the problem alive. When you operate from fear and frantic striving, you are vibrating at the frequency of lack. You are telling your deep mind that you do not believe you are already what you desire to become. You are arguing for your limitations again. Your excuses are working harder than you are. The New Thought masters always taught that faith is an active mental attitude. It is the absolute conviction that what you have imagined in the unseen realm is already a done deal in the seen realm. It is letting go and letting God. It is handing the problem over to the higher awareness within you, which possesses resources, connections, and solutions that your logical mind could never dream of. Infinite intelligence knows exactly how to bridge the gap between your current reality and your ultimate destiny. But it cannot work through a mind that is jammed shut with panic and control. Be honest with yourself. Look at your past track record. Has your frantic worrying ever actually solved a problem? Has your late-night pacing ever brought you a breakthrough? No. It only drained your energy and delayed your personal transformation. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you, the story that you are entirely on your own, and that if you don't fight the world, you will fail. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for all the external pieces to align before you decide to trust the universe. That is an inversion of spiritual law. You must trust first, and then the pieces will fall into place. This requires a complete shift from external validation to inner authority. When a crisis hits, or when an unexpected challenge shows up in your personal or professional life, your default reaction is to scramble. You want to send 10 text messages, make 5 frantic phone calls, or dive into a spiral of self-doubt. True self-mastery demands that you do the exact opposite. You must practice radical stillness. You must step back from the canvas of your life. Take a deep breath, pull your attention away from the chaotic physical senses, and surrender the situation entirely to the higher self. This is where you find the secret to inner harmony that the philosopher kings of old possessed. They didn't rule their empires by reacting to every rumor, they ruled from a place of deep, immovable inner stillness. They knew that their dominant internal state would inevitably dictate their outer reality. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It wants you to stay addicted to stress because stress makes you feel like you are doing something. It wants you to keep negotiating with your potential. But your future self is watching this choice. Are you going to keep burning yourself out, or are you going to step onto the path of effortless manifestation? Let's put this law of surrender into immediate practice. No more theories, no more waiting. If procrastination or hesitation were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion, so do this right now. Think of the one problem in your life that is causing you the most anxiety today. The thing that keeps you awake at night, the thing you are trying desperately to fix or control. Tonight, right before you close your eyes, you are going to hold a mental court session. Visualize your higher self sitting before you. A version of you that is entirely wise, peaceful, unlimited, and plugged into infinite intelligence. Mentally package that entire problem, with all its messy details and fears, and hand it over to your higher self. Take it completely out of your hands. Silently state this phrase with absolute conviction: I release this situation entirely. I step out of the way. Infinite intelligence knows the perfect resolution, and I accept it as done. Once you say those words, the case is closed. You are legally forbidden from worrying about it anymore. If a thought about that problem tries to creep back into your conscious mind during the day, you must catch it instantly. Do not entertain it. Do not analyze it. Simply smile and say, that is no longer my business. It is being beautifully handled. Take absolute personal responsibility for protecting your peace. Stop trying to play the role of the universe. Step down from the ego's shaky throne, surrender to the infinite power within you, and watch how effortlessly your life moves into perfect harmony. Chapter 7, The Master Key of Attention. Let's look at your daily life. You claim you want a massive personal transformation. You claim you want self-mastery, high-level success, and deep inner peace. Yet, you spend your days letting every shiny object, every random notification, and every minor distraction hijack your mind. You give your focus away to trash television, mindless scrolling, and petty drama, and then you wonder why your life feels scattered and stuck. You're fooling yourself. Your attention is the most valuable currency you possess in this universe, and right now, you are spending it like a bankrupt fool. To experience a true spiritual awakening and claim your destiny, you must master the discipline of attention. This is the master key principle in action. Thought creates matter, but it is sustained attention that breathes life into that matter and holds it in your physical reality. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and your subconscious mind follows. If your attention is fractured, your manifestation will be fractured. The problem isn't out there. The problem is that you have zero mental discipline. Let's look at the metaphysics of focus. Esoteric wisdom teaches that your consciousness is a lens. When you pass sunlight through a magnifying glass, it concentrates the diffused rays into a single, burning point of light that can start a fire. Your mind operates the exact same way. When your focus is scattered across 50 different directions, worrying about yesterday, stressing about tomorrow, reacting to a text message, checking the news, your creative thought power is diluted to absolute zero. You become a passive reactor to life rather than an intentional creator. Stop acting like a victim of a distracted world. Who told you that you have to respond to every demand on your time the second it arrives? You are giving away your power. You are allowing external validation and societal noise to dictate the contents of your deep mind. The New Thought masters always emphasize that mental causation is an absolute law. Your current environment is simply the sum total of where you have placed your attention in the past. If you are constantly focusing on what is missing, what is wrong, or who didn't appreciate you, you are deeply programming your subconscious mind to anchor you in that exact state of lack. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. The story that you simply can't focus, or that the world is too distracting. That's a convenient excuse. It excuses you from doing the hard, daily work of controlling your own mind. Let's be completely honest with yourself. If procrastination and distraction were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion. You've mistaken fear of failure for a short attention span. You stay distracted because true focus requires you to sit with yourself, take absolute personal responsibility, and face your own potential. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It loves when you pick up your phone to scroll because it knows that as long as you are distracted, you will never have to grow. True inner power means you decide what enters your mental temple. It means you develop a ruthless, ironclad mental discipline. When you sit down to work on your goals, to build your brand, or to meditate, your mind will naturally try to wander. It will whisper that you are tired, that you should check your messages, or that you can finish this tomorrow. That's your ego talking. The ego hates discipline because discipline kills the old, lazy self. When those thoughts arise, you must not argue with them. You must not get angry. Simply recognize them, declare that it is a belief rather than a fact, and gently but firmly drag your attention back to your chosen focus. This is how you assume the feeling of the wish being fulfilled. You do it by giving your ideal reality your undivided, passionate attention. When you visualize your success, you must do it with such concentrated focus that the room around you fades away. You must become entirely absorbed in the mental image, feeling its reality so deeply that it leaves an indelible impression on your subconscious mind. You are waiting instead of deciding. Stop waiting for your focus to magically improve. Decide today to be the master of your attention. Your future self is watching this choice. Every single moment of distraction is a moment you are negotiating with your potential. Every time you choose to focus on a limitation or a grievance, you are voting for a future of mediocrity. Let's put this master key into operation immediately. No more excuses. No more overcomplicating it. Here is your practical action step for today, and I expect you to execute it with absolute precision. For the next 7 days, you are going to create a sacred focus window. Choose 1 hour every single day dedicated entirely to your personal transformation. Whether that is studying ancient wisdom, working on your new business, or engaging in deep mind reprogramming. During this hour, your phone is turned off and placed in another room. The door is shut. There are no tabs open on your screen except the task at hand. If your mind drifts, and it will drift 20 times in the first 10 minutes, you will not quit. You will simply bring your attention back, over and over again, like a muscle being trained in the gym. You are the ruler of your consciousness. Stop letting the world rob you of your inner power. Reclaim your focus, guard your mental space with ruthless discipline, and direct your attention toward Chapter 8, The Law of the Echo. Let's look at the trap that has kept you paralyzed for years. You walk out into the world, you look at your current reality, and you let what you see dictate how you feel. If your bank account is low, you feel anxious. If someone treats you poorly, you feel angry and slighted. If your plans don't work out immediately, you feel defeated. You are letting the physical world pull your strings like a helpless puppet. Stop acting like a victim. You are treating the world as the cause and yourself as the effect. You're fooling yourself. To achieve true self-mastery and inner peace, you must understand a fundamental law of metaphysics: the outer world is an echo. It is a mirror. It is a delayed projection of your past inner states. When you shout into a massive canyon, you don't get angry when the canyon shouts back at you. You understand that the sound returning to your ears is simply the echo of the voice you used a few seconds ago. Yet, when you look at your life and see lack, chaos, or loneliness, you scream at the mirror. You try to smash the glass, break the reflection, and force the outer world to change through sheer physical struggle. You're overcomplicating it. The problem isn't out there. You cannot fix an echo by shouting louder at the canyon. You can only fix the echo by changing the original sound. You must change your consciousness. Every single circumstance you experience today is yesterday's news. It is the solid manifestation of thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you held weeks, months, or even years ago. Thought creates matter. Mental causation is absolute. Therefore, reacting to what is currently happening with panic, despair, or rage is completely pointless. When you react to negative appearances, you are simply using your current creative thought power to validate that negativity. You are ensuring that the echo will keep playing on a loop tomorrow, next week, and next year. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you, the story that your current circumstances are facts you must submit to. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. The New Thought masters always taught that the true test of spiritual awakening is your ability to ignore appearances. This is what it means to live by faith and surrender, rather than by sight. If you want a radical personal transformation, you must develop the inner authority to look directly at a challenging situation and refuse to let it change your internal state. You must remain completely unmoved by the shadow on the screen. Let's be honest with ourselves. You are giving away your power every single day to temporary appearances. Someone doesn't reply to your message, and you immediately spin a narrative of rejection. An unexpected expense pops up, and you immediately dive into a sermon about scarcity. Who told you that was a good idea? That's your ego talking. The ego loves to react to appearances because reaction requires zero spiritual maturity. It's easy to be happy when everything goes right. It takes supreme inner power to maintain prosperity consciousness and inner harmony when the outer world is falling apart. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for the bank account to fill up before you decide to feel secure. You are waiting for people to praise you before you decide to feel worthy. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It loves when you react to appearances because your reactions keep you safely locked inside your old, limited destiny. Break the mirror. Stop negotiating with your potential. True self-realization means you look right past the physical evidence of lack or failure and firmly assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If your business is slow, you do not sit there magnifying the slowness. You close your eyes, tap into infinite intelligence, and feel the deep, quiet thrill of being highly sought after and successful. You anchor yourself so deeply in that higher awareness that the current outer reality loses all its power over you. You treat the physical world like a shadow, knowing that the moment you move the light inside your mind, the shadow has no choice but to follow. This is the secret of the philosopher king, absolute inner stability. The world can rage, currencies can fluctuate, and people can judge, but the master remains centered in the kingdom within. They know that their internal state is the only true reality, and that the external world must eventually bend to match it. Let's put this metaphysical law into immediate execution. No more waiting. No more playing small. Here is your practical action step for the next 48 hours, and your future self is watching this choice. Every time you encounter an appearance that triggers you, whether it is a difficult email, a lone number on a screen, or a rude interaction, you are forbidden from reacting emotionally. The moment the trigger happens, mentally step back. Take a deep, slow breath and say to yourself, "This is just an echo. This is yesterday's news. It has no power over my present." Then, deliberately turn your attention inward. Summon the feeling of absolute peace, security, and victory. Hold that feeling for 60 seconds until the urge to react passes completely. You are the sole author of your reality. Stop letting the shadow dictate the light. Take absolute personal responsibility for your inner state, refuse to bow to appearances, and command the mirror of life to reflect your truth. Chapter 9, The Sovereign Self. Let's talk about your addiction to applause. You are living your life like an actor on a stage, constantly glancing at the audience to see if they are clapping. You dress for their approval, you choose your career path for their validation, and you suppress your deepest truths just to keep from making them uncomfortable. You have turned your friends, your family, your co-workers, and even total strangers into the judges of your worth. Stop acting like a victim. You are begging for crumbs of validation from people who are just as lost, anxious, and confused as you are. You're fooling yourself. To achieve true self-realization and claim your inner power, you must undergo a profound spiritual awakening. You must step away from external validation and awaken to your higher self. Your higher self is not a distant, mystical entity floating in the clouds. It is the core of higher awareness right inside you. It is that spark of infinite intelligence that is completely unlimited, deeply peaceful, and entirely whole. It doesn't need to achieve anything to be worthy. It doesn't need a promotion, a compliment, or a specific number of followers to feel significant. It is significant. It is power. But you have buried this sovereign self under a mountain of people-pleasing and ego-driven anxiety. Let's look at the metaphysics of validation. Esoteric wisdom teaches that when you seek validation from the outer world, you are committing a massive spiritual error. You are declaring that the power to make you happy, secure, or successful resides outside of you. This is a direct violation of the law of mental causation. Thought creates matter. Your consciousness is the source. When you look outside for approval, you are telling your subconscious mind, I am empty, and I need the world to fill me. And by the unyielding laws of the mind, a state of emptiness can only manifest more lack, more rejection, and more dependency. You're overcomplicating your life trying to manage everyone else's opinion of you. The problem isn't out there. The problem is that you have abandoned your own throne. The New Thought masters always taught that you must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled from a place of inner authority. You cannot be a master of your destiny while you are still a slave to other people's moods. If someone praises you today, you feel like a king. If they ignore you tomorrow, you feel like a pauper. Who told you that was a good idea? That's your ego talking. The ego feeds on external validation because it is inherently fragile and separate. The higher self, however, operates in unity with infinite intelligence. It knows that your worth is a spiritual fact, not a public opinion. Be honest with yourself. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you, the story that you need to be understood, accepted, and cheered on by everyone around you before you can take radical action. If waiting for approval were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are negotiating with your potential because you are terrified that if you stand in your true inner power, someone might criticize you. You've mistaken fear of judgment for wisdom. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It loves when you seek validation because it keeps you perfectly predictable and small. It ensures you never disrupt the status quo. But your personal transformation demands that you burn that old script. Your future self is watching this choice. Are you going to keep trading your destiny for a few cheap compliments? True self-mastery means you become emotionally self-contained. It means you look inward to the kingdom within for your marching orders and your sense of identity. When you design a project, launch a business, or make a radical shift in your life, you don't call a committee meeting of your friends to ask if they think it's a good idea. You sit in the stillness of your own consciousness, connect with infinite intelligence, assume the feeling of success, and execute with absolute conviction. You let your results be your validation. Let's put this inner authority into immediate operation. No more playing small. No more begging for approval. Here is your practical action step for today, and it requires absolute personal responsibility. For the next 7 days, you are going to practice silent execution. I want you to take one major goal, idea, or personal change you are working on right now, and you are forbidden from telling a single soul about it. You will not post it on social media. You will not text your friend about it. You will not look for a pat on the back or a good job. Keep the energy of that creation entirely within yourself. Let the heat of that desire build up in your subconscious mind without venting it through premature talking. Visualize the end, feel the deep satisfaction of its completion right now, and do the work in absolute silence. If the urge arises to share it just to see someone's reaction, catch it instantly. Recognize it as the ego begging for validation. Say to yourself, my higher self is my only authority. I am already whole. Shift your focus from external validation to inner sovereignty. Reclaim your inner power, awaken to the magnificent creator you truly are, and let the world adapt to your new, unshakable standard of self-mastery. Chapter 10, The Identity Shift. Let's stop trying to change your habits and start changing your identity. You have been trying to alter your life using the absolute weakest method possible, behavior modification. You tell yourself, starting Monday, I am going to work harder, eat better, stop procrastinating, and save money. And you push through with pure, exhausting willpower for about 4 days until your energy drops, the old patterns reclaim you, and you slide right back to where you started. Then you blame your lack of discipline. You're fooling yourself. The problem isn't your discipline. The problem is your self-concept. You are trying to do the deeds of a master while still carrying the identity of a slave. To break this loop and step into a higher destiny, you must undergo a radical identity shift. You must understand a foundational principle of metaphysics: you do not manifest what you want in this universe, you manifest what you are. Your subconscious mind is a guided missile system, and your self-concept is the target coordinate. If your deep programming says, I am someone who struggles, I am someone who gets rejected, I am someone who never finishes what they start, then your subconscious will actively sabotage every single conscious effort you make to succeed. It will create fatigue, it will attract distractions, and it will give you excuses to ensure your outer world matches your inner identity. Thought creates matter. Mental causation is absolute. If you want a different destination, you have to reprogram the coordinates. Stop acting like a victim of your past conditioning. Who told you that you are defined by your old mistakes, your upbringing, or your current limitations? You have become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. You protect your limitations like they are ancient family heirlooms. You say, well, I've always been an anxious person, or I'm just not good with money. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. And by defending that belief, you are arguing for your limitations again. Your excuses are working harder than you are. The New Thought pioneers understood that personal transformation requires a total death of the old self. This is the ultimate esoteric wisdom behind the concept of being born again. It means you completely strip off the old label, the old narrative, and the old habits, and you step boldly into a completely new self-concept. How do you do this? By utilizing your inner power to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled at the level of identity. You must stop thinking of your higher destiny as a future event. You must claim it in the absolute present tense. Neville Goddard taught this with supreme clarity. You must use the most powerful creative words in the universe, I am. Whatever you place after those two words becomes your reality. When you say, I am tired, I am broke, I am stuck, you are issuing a divine command to infinite intelligence to freeze you in those exact states. You are giving away your power. You are negotiating with your potential. True self-mastery requires you to have the audacity to look at a chaotic life and declare exactly the opposite of what your senses tell you. If you are broke, you do not wait for the money to feel wealthy. You claim, I am prosperous. If you are lonely, you do not wait for the applause to feel worthy, you claim, I am whole and complete. If you are confused, you do not wait for a sign, you claim, I am guided by infinite intelligence. You must embody the identity of the person who already has the results you desire. How would that person walk? How would they speak? How would they react to a challenge? They wouldn't react with panic or victimhood. They would act with absolute inner authority and grace. Be honest with yourself. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for external validation before you allow yourself to change your self-concept. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It loves when you try to change your habits because it knows it can easily trick you back into the old routine. But it terrifies your ego when you change your identity, because when the identity shifts, the old you ceases to exist. Your future self is watching this choice. Are you going to keep dragging the corpse of your past self into your future, or are you going to execute a clean break today? Let's put this identity shift into immediate, ruthless operation. No more overcomplicating it. Here is your practical action step, and it requires absolute personal responsibility. Right now, mentally identify the single greatest limitation in your current self-concept. Is it fear, lack, unworthiness, or hesitation? Now, flip that limitation into its absolute highest, most powerful expression. Create a 3-word I am statement that embodies this new identity. For example, I am disciplined, I am abundant, or I am peaceful. For the next 24 hours, this statement is your anchor. You will repeat it silently to yourself 50 times a day. But do not just chant the words like a robot. That's your ego trying to skate through the work. Every time you say it, you must actively summon the physical and emotional feeling of that identity. Feel the shift in your posture. Feel the expansion in your chest. Feel the weight of inner power settling into your core. When you walk into a room, walk with that new identity. When you make a decision, make it as that person. When an old, limiting thought tries to trigger you, look it dead in the eye and say, "That's your ego talking. That belongs to a version of me that no longer exists." Take absolute personal responsibility for the blueprint of your soul. Stop begging for a change in your circumstances and demand a change in yourself. Step into your higher awareness, claim your sovereign destiny, and watch how quickly the physical universe reshapes itself to match the master you have become. Chapter 11, The Sacred Fire of Discipline. Let's burn your final bridge to mediocrity. You love to talk about spiritual awakening, consciousness expansion, and the laws of manifestation. You spend hours reading esoteric wisdom, highlighting passages, and dreaming about your ideal destiny. But when it comes time to wake up early, execute your daily action plan, and do the actual, unglamorous work, you vanish. You find an excuse. You claim you lack inspiration, you're too tired, or the energy isn't right. You're fooling yourself. You have mistaken emotional laziness for spiritual guidance. Your excuses are working harder than you are. To achieve true self-mastery and inner peace, you must understand the deeply spiritual nature of discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It is not a rigid cage designed to strip away your freedom. That's your ego talking. The ego hates discipline because it knows that discipline is the exact fire that will burn it away. True discipline is the highest expression of self-love and inner power. It is the ultimate act of faith and surrender in motion. When you possess the discipline to execute daily action regardless of your fleeting moods, you are announcing to the universe, "I am the master of my mind, and I am entirely committed to the vision of my higher self." Let's look at the metaphysics of action. Thought creates matter. Your imagination designs the blueprint, and assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled anchors that reality into your deep mind. But physical action is the channel through which infinite intelligence objectifies that reality in the material world. Action is how you bridge the gap between the unseen and the seen. When you refuse to act, when you let procrastination hijack your day, you are sending a massive wave of conflict into your subconscious mind. You are declaring that you do not truly believe you are already what you desire to become. You are negotiating with your potential. You are treating your goals like a pleasant fantasy rather than an impending reality. This is a complete failure of personal responsibility. The problem isn't that manifestation doesn't work. The problem is that your daily execution is a joke. Be honest with yourself. If procrastination were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for a sudden burst of motivation before you write that book, launch that digital brand, or start that mental fast. Who told you that motivation was a requirement for action? Motivation is cheap. It's a passing emotional high that leaves the moment things get difficult. True self-realization relies on devotion, not motivation. It requires you to show up at the desk, on the track, or in the stillness of your mind when you feel absolutely nothing. It means you look at your fatigue, your doubt, and your hesitation, and you declare, "That is a convenient excuse, but it has no authority in my kingdom." The New Thought masters always emphasized that prosperity consciousness and spiritual authority must be practical. Faith without works is dead. You cannot sit on a couch visualizing an empire while refusing to pick up a shovel. Every single daily action you take with concentrated focus is a vote for your new identity. When you conquer the urge to sleep in, when you shut out distractions to build your business, and when you ruthlessly guard your mental space, you are practicing mind reprogramming through behavior. You are showing your deep mind exactly who is in charge. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It is love when you say, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the ultimate graveyard of human potential. Tomorrow is the mantra of the victim. The master lives entirely in the absolute present tense. Your future self is watching this choice. Every time you honor your word to yourself, your inner power expands. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you give away your power to the external environment. Stop overcomplicating it. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need more information, another course, or external validation. You need to execute. You need to bring the sacred fire of discipline to your daily routine and burn away the alibis that have kept you stuck in the same place for years. Let's put this spiritual discipline into immediate, uncompromising operation. No more waiting. Here is your practical action step for tomorrow morning, and I expect absolute compliance. Identify the one critical task you have been avoiding for weeks. The one thing you know would move your personal transformation or career forward the most. Tomorrow, you will handle that task first. Before you check your phone, before you respond to an email, and before you let the chaos of the world pollute your mind, you will spend 90 minutes in absolute, uninterrupted execution. If your mind throws a tantrum, if it tells you that you are too tired, that you're not ready, or that you should do it later, you will not argue. You will simply look at that resistance and recognize it as the dying gasp of your old self-concept. Say to yourself, my higher self commands this day. I am disciplined, and I am victorious. Take absolute personal responsibility for your daily momentum. Stop waiting for inspiration and start creating it through the sheer force of your inner authority. Burn away the excuses, step into the fire of discipline, and claim the destiny that only the committed can ever. Chapter 12, The Sovereign Peace. We have arrived at the summit. You have traveled through the landscape of your own mind, dismantled the alibis of the victim, and stood guard at the gates of your subconscious. You have felt the sting of absolute personal responsibility and ignited the sacred fire of discipline. Now, it is time for the ultimate synthesis. It is time to merge your inner power with an immovable inner peace. This is the secret of the philosopher king. The realization that true self-mastery is not about fighting the world to a standstill, but ruling your internal kingdom with absolute serenity. Look at how the average person operates. They think power is loud. They think it is aggressive, combative, and demanding. They want to conquer others, amass external validation, and force their environment into submission through frantic control. That's your ego talking. That version of power is fragile. It is a house of cards waiting to collapse the moment the wind changes. If your peace depends on the outer world behaving perfectly, you are not a king, you are a hostage. Stop acting like a victim to circumstances. The problem isn't out there. True power is quiet. It is absolute stillness in the center of the storm. To live as a sovereign being, you must fully embody the principle of mental causation. Thought creates matter. Your consciousness is the absolute cause. The physical universe is merely the effect. When you achieve this level of spiritual awakening, a profound personal transformation occurs. You stop reacting to the illusions on the screen of life. You stop panicking when the echo of your past thoughts shows up as a temporary challenge. You look directly at difficulties, lack, or criticism, and you remain completely unmoved. You've mistaken emotional reactivity for strength for far too long. That's not a fact, that's just a belief. True inner authority means you choose your internal state independently of any external evidence. Think about the depth of this esoteric wisdom. When you are deeply anchored in your higher self, you live from a permanent state of prosperity consciousness. You no longer chase success or beg for abundance because you understand that you are already what you desire to become. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled so completely that your inner peace becomes your dominant frequency. And by the unyielding laws of metaphysics, the universe has no choice but to reflect that inner harmony back to you. It must rearrange people, places, and events to match the sovereign order you have established within your own mind. But be honest with yourself. Are you ready to maintain this high-level consciousness when you step away from this audio? Or are you going to let the very first minor inconvenience tomorrow pull you off your throne? The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It wants you to go back to being a passive reactor. It wants you to get angry in traffic, stress over bills, and look for pity from your friends. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you, the story that maintaining this level of self-realization is too hard for an ordinary human being. You're fooling yourself. You are not ordinary. You are plugged directly into infinite intelligence. You possess a creative thought power that can literally reshape your destiny. Stop negotiating with your potential. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for life to become completely smooth before you decide to embody the stillness of the philosopher king. It works the exact opposite way. You must bring the stillness to the chaos, and then the chaos will dissolve. This requires faith and surrender. It requires you to step onto the path of effortless manifestation, where you do the daily work with excellence but release the results entirely to the higher awareness within you. You don't force, you allow. You don't scramble, you command. You move through the world with a quiet, regal confidence because you know who you are. You are the sole architect of your reality. You are the ruler of your internal kingdom. Your future self is watching this choice. Every single day is a test of your sovereignty. When the world presents a narrative of lack, fear, or limitation, you must look it in the eye and say, "That's a convenient excuse, but I refuse to give away my power." You must return to your center, take a deep breath, and re-anchor yourself in the kingdom within. Let's put this ultimate synthesis into immediate, lifelong operation. No more theories. No more waiting for tomorrow. If hesitation were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion, so claim your crown right now. Here is your final practical action step, and it is a commitment to your new life. From this moment forward, you will establish a daily practice of the sovereign pause. Whenever you feel a surge of anxiety, anger, or temptation to play the victim during your day, you will immediately call a mental halt. You will shut your mouth, close your eyes if possible, and withdraw your attention entirely from the physical senses. For exactly 60 seconds, you will dive into the deep stillness of your mind. Connect with infinite intelligence. Reprogram your current state by silently stating, "I am the ruler of this mind. I am the master of this peace. My path is clear, and my victory is certain." Feel the absolute relief of that truth settling into your physical body. Feel your shoulders drop, your chest expand, and your inner power return. Take absolute personal responsibility for guarding this inner harmony. You have the keys to the kingdom. Stop begging at the gates. Step into your higher awareness, claim your self-mastery, live as the sovereign creator of your destiny, and rule your life from a place of absolute, unshakable. Closing, the eternal return. The journey has brought you back to the exact place where you started, but you are no longer the same person who began. The world around you hasn't magically shifted overnight. The numbers on your screens, the people in your life, and the challenges before you may look exactly as they did before. But everything has changed, because you have changed. You have stepped out of the fog of spiritual amnesia and walked into the blinding light of self-realization. You have stripped away the mask of the victim, shattered the ego's defenses, and accepted absolute personal responsibility for your life. Let us summarize the unyielding spiritual laws you have unlocked. You now know that your mind is the ultimate architect of your reality. Thought creates matter. Mental causation is not a theory, it is the absolute framework of the universe. Your subconscious mind is a mechanical giant, faithfully objectifying whatever you impress upon it with deep feeling and repetition. You know that the outer world is merely a mirror, an echo of yesterday's dominant mental states, and that reacting to appearances with panic or despair is completely pointless. You have learned the master key of attention, the law of assumption, and the supreme inner power that comes from faith and surrender. But knowledge without execution is a tragedy. You're fooling yourself if you think simply understanding these concepts will transform your life. Your excuses are working harder than you are the moment you slide back into old patterns. The comfort zone called, and it will continue to call. It will whisper the old, familiar story of lack, fear, and limitation. It will tempt you to look for external validation, to procrastinate on your daily action steps, and to argue for your limitations. Every single time that voice whispers, you must recognize it instantly. That's your ego talking. That is a convenient excuse. Look at it, smile at its weakness, and say, that is not a fact, that's just an old belief. And it no longer has a home in my kingdom. Stop waiting for permission that no one is going to give you. You are waiting instead of deciding. Decide right now, in this absolute present tense, that you are the sole authority over your consciousness. You are plugged directly into infinite intelligence. You possess a creative thought power that can literally reshape your physical environment and guide you toward your highest destiny. Live every single day from the inside out. Live from the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Walk, speak, and make decisions as the master you have already become. Your future self is watching this choice. Every moment is a vote for your transformation or a slide back into mediocrity. Do not negotiate with your potential. Do not look back at the beggar you used to be. The keys to the kingdom are in your hands. The sovereign stillness of the philosopher king is your birthright. Step onto your throne. Guard your mind with ruthless discipline. Embrace the sacred fire of daily execution. Let go of the struggle, surrender the how to the higher awareness within, and allow your life to unfold with effortless manifestation and profound inner harmony. The kingdom is yours. Your destiny is calling. Stand up, claim your inner power, and step into your absolute